Hello, welcome back. Mary Muse here, and as you can see, I'm a lot different from the first video. To catch you up, this is the second video of three of my TMS experience, Transcranial Magnetic Stimulation. And I did a prior video to this when I was just on my second session, and today is my halfway mark. I'm halfway done. I am now completed with 15 sessions out of the 30 that I'm going to be doing. As you can just visually see, I'm a little bit more animated. I have my hair did, but I'll get to all that in a second. I'll tell you about all my improvements and my progress and stuff in a second. When I was looking at the video and reviewing it, man, like the previous video, what a contrast, what a difference in persona, and even just the lighting in the room, everything, my ability to articulate. And so that's why I wanted to do like a 7-minute seminar kind of, because I explained how the mechanics of TMS works and how they scan your brain, how they find the right spot, etc. But I wasn't able to really articulate how well the actual neurons change and how it affects the cells and how it improves the cells, because it's completely unrelated to medication. Medication has to do with what the cells output and receive, the neurotransmitters. What TMS does is it affects further back in the system. So let me give you a 7-minute seminar on how neurons work when they're properly functioning, and then I promise I'll be right back after a couple minutes and I'll give you some updates on what's going on in my life. Welcome, class. You are with Miss Mary Muse and you're in Neurophysiology 101. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about how neurons work when they work and function properly. Now, to back me up here, I am not a doctor and I am not a professor. I have just done tons and tons and tons of research, and I've done interviews, and I got a few degrees under my belt. So with that under my bootstraps, I would like to present to you my friend Fred, the octopus. When we're discussing neurons, we want to talk about them. Let's get on a basic level here. Fred here could easily represent my brain, with my brain being up here in his head and his tentacles coming down all the way down to the tips of my toes as nerves. When you break these nerves up into microscopic cells, you get neurons. Fred here also looks like a neuron, conveniently enough. Up here is going to be where his nucleus is, where all of his the control center is, kind of like a phone operator in a sense. I'm going to use plain telephone to kind of use as an analogy. These tentacles coming out of him, instead of being the long nerves on a microscopic level, on a cellular level, Fred has axons that come out. And when they reach out, I wish I had two of him. We'll pretend here's another one right here. When they come close and when there's activity, if he gets stimulated, he gets shuddering, he'll send out neurotransmitters through the tip of this axon right here. And this little octopus over here, like E.T., phone home, ding, they won't touch, but they'll transmit neurotransmitters like delicious serotonin and dopamine that our bodies love. And that's how they communicate back and forth. That's so the messages get passed along to the correct path for the correct purpose. Like, let's say, up to the brain for a response or to calculate something, or from the brain down to a muscle to maybe clench or to perform an action. So I'm going to let Fred go and rest for a while now. If we were to look at one of Fred's tentacles on a microscopic view, like let's say, we'll just insert that guy in here, like this. This is what the axon, this is what the cell branching out to the next cell would look like. This is what the shaft would look like. And you can see on the outside and on the inside, it's a die cut, so you can see both sides. You see these black dots. These are pumps. They pump in different ions into the cell and out of the cell accordingly with action. The hell am I talking about? Let me get it to you. Just like a battery has a positive side and a negative side, so do our cells. On the outside, we have positive sodium ions that just chill and rest there. And sodium is on the periodic table as Na, so That's why they have that on there. And then on the inside, because if the outside's positive, the inside has to be, you got it, negative. So on the inside here, I have potassium, little negative K potassiums. And when they are just hanging out and just sitting like this, floating around, they're in what's considered a polarized state, where nothing's happening. But just like a person's patience, each neuron has a threshold for its activity level and for its reaction level. And when enough reaction happens, when enough instigating happens to set the cell off, what happens is the pumps open up and they end up flipping the polarity, and that's called, let me do it here for you first. Look at that, and that's depolarized when it gets zapped and some of the pumps start flipping. Once one of the pumps starts flipping, it's a domino effect of all of these pumps flipping, all of the negative to the outside and all of the positive to the inside. When it reaches this state of reversed polarity, that's when it's considered repolarized. It's not in its basic natural state like how a battery is. It's actually reversed. That's how I remembered repolarized, by being annoying and emphasizing that. And then when the stimulus has like gotten, it's expended, it's, how do I explain this? When the pumps are exhausted, they end up pushing back the sodium back to the top and the potassium back to the inside. It's a lower form of energy, and so when the cell is exhausted, the pump gives up. Sort of like, I want to use a muscle analogy. When your muscle is done contracting, then it's kind of numb and it relaxes, and it's just, you've been clenching so hard and it's just, you're done. And that's when it's considered hyperpolarized, when everything has gone back together. And then there's an ending refractory period, and that's when the nerve is completely unresponsive, just like your tired, sore arm. When you've worked out so much and you feel that numb feeling and you can't lift you feel resistance to being able to use that muscle again, it's going to take an extremely high threshold at that point to, or extremely high stimulus at that point to be able to break that temporarily raised threshold. And then it eventually cycles back, and like how I said, it's already polarized and ready to go. It just needs a little break time. The time it takes to get from step 2 to step 5 is 4 milliseconds. That's faster than lightning. So if you were to take 1 second and divide it into 1,000,000 pieces, it would take just 4 of them for your cell to be able to go vroom, vroom, just like that. Now, instead of leaving it with an open stamina innuendo, I'm going to leave you with an educational ending and get you back to class. You guys have a good one. So, thanks to Professor Miss Mary, we now know how neurons function properly. But with major depressive disorder, which is what TMS is prescribed for, they hypothesize that there's something wrong. There's a dysfunction in the polarization cycle. And so I have her handy dandy little thing here. I'm missing some of the parts, but it'll illustrate it just perfectly fine. They figure that possibly the ions are possibly not 100% going in and out, ruining the depolarization domino effect. Also possibly they could not be going back to a hyperpolarized state, or sometimes even they'll just get clogged. Like you'll have a random potassium in here, or I'm sorry, a random sodium in here that just won't go out, and the transmission gets clogged. And when it gets clogged, it becomes inactive. And when it becomes inactive, just like your muscles, just like your arms and your leg muscles, if you don't use them, they start to shrink up and they tighten and they don't get used. And that just doesn't happen to this cell, but this happens to all of the cells along the pathway as well. And that picture, like the telephone analogy I was using earlier, you're not getting any connection. You're getting poor reception, girl, and it needs a reboot. So what TMS does is it stimulates it and it forces it to have those actions as if the brain was saying, yeah, hey, activate, activate, and it's forcing it to repolarize, depolarize, hyperpolarize, just to go through the polarization cycle again and again and again and again. So the TMS is a reboot, and it helps to open it up and widen it up and make the pathways stronger and even increase further pathways to open up. It's systemic in the brain. What I mean by systemic is that it means it stays within the brain. It affects more than just one region. So let me show you a picture of the brain and the specific regions that TMS activates and how the pathways correlate with one another. So this is what TMS looks like when we're looking at an actual image of it. Here's going to be the coil. This is the specific NeuroStar machine that I'm using. This is where the coil is going to be. And using Faraday's law, we can predict that when we use electronic stimulation, we can create a magnetic field to go through the brain, the cranium, transcranial, and go into the brain to about a depth about 5 centimeters. And that's perfectly deep enough just to get down here to the left prefrontal cortex that we're looking at. And the TMS, it's systemic, only particular to the region of the brain. Unlike medicines that will go throughout your entire body and bloodstream and give you stomach aches and body aches and nausea and weight gain and all of that stuff, this stays up in the brain. But it's even more localized as compared to ECT, where they just shock you through the brain and come out. Using Faraday's law, we used electric power to create a magnetic field to then create back again an electric chemical reaction within the cells, specifically in the prefrontal cortex, but it's systemic to the emotional center of the brain, which contains the anterior cingulate, the hypothalamus, the amygdala, and the hippocampus. And these are all very important parts of how we modulate our emotions and how we perceive and react. And that's how TMS looks like. Thank you so much for nerding it out with me. I am just fascinated by the science of all of this. I mean, shit, they're altering my brain. I should be interested in what the hell they're doing to me. So I'm going to shoot out some random numbers to you just to get your nerd card going. And then if you wait just a couple seconds, I'm going to show you a picture or a video of me doing a treatment. Shh, I wasn't supposed to be able to do this, but I did it anyway because it's me and I follow the rules. Anyway, so the amount of electricity that they're using to create the magnetic field is equivalent to 2,000 to 3,000 volts at 2 to 3 kilowatts. That's enough energy to heat up 3 small space heaters or 16 25-inch TVs. That's a lot of power. They use that to create a magnetic field with a strength of about 1 to 3 Tesla, if you guys are familiar with Tesla. They do it for, when they're doing it on my left-hand side, they pulsate for 4 seconds, and they do it at a rate of 10 pulses per second. So it's for 4 seconds. They do that every 26 seconds, so that essentially every 30 seconds, I get a treatment. So twice a minute, I get a treatment. I do this for 37 minutes, once a day, 5 days a week, for 6 weeks. And again, today is day 15, so I'm halfway done with my 30 treatments. So, yeah, you want to see the procedure? Promise to keep it a secret. Let me just give you a heads up. I flinch a lot on my right-hand side because it's stimulating my left lobe, so my right side gets kind of stimulated, so my eye kind of twerks out a little bit. It's not painful at all. I've gotten used to it. I would much rather have TMS than go to a dentist any day of the week. Twice a day. I don't care. No, teeth and me, we're cool. I'll do TMS. So the first 1 to 4 seconds is of me waiting, just waiting, looking cute. Just plain. And then you hear a warning bell in the background that gives me a 2-second warning to alert me. Oh, guess what? You're going to get zapped again. Or I call it getting my X-Men powers. Like Magneto. And then you see at seconds 5.5 to 9.5 is the stimulus. And that's when they're shocking me not shocking me, that's when they're giving me impulses. And yeah, what am I talking about? Let me just show you the video. So, the big question of the day, the important question of the day is, Mary Muse, just how in the heck are you feeling, girl? Well, I think the best way I can answer that is with a message that I sent to my friends today. I'm just going to read you the message right here off the computer. Goodness, friend, I think these X-Men powers are finally working. I'm so calm and content and filled with such appreciation and gratitude for everything. From the shine of the light on the leaves of a tree to hearing the wind chimes outside, to painting, to the flavor of food. I feel like I'm glowing and floating on a tiny cloud, like I can finally see what the norms can see in life, but with virgin eyes, unaccustomed to this light. But I'm still completely cognizant and alert and high functioning, just being as such with incredible and newfound joy. I've read and heard that it's around the 3-week mark that things start happening. Today is exactly my 3 weeks in my 6-week treatment. I'm just so grateful for how I'm feeling right now. If nothing else improved in the next 3 weeks, I'd still be utterly amazed at the change. Oh my, I'm just so happy for no reason and no anxiety and no fear of abandonment, no issues or restraints. This is unreal. I wish you were here for me to glomp onto you and share this feeling with you. And that's how I feel. On day 4, I did an audio clip to another friend, and I wanted to share that with you just on the 4th treatment, because this is my 15th treatment, and this is when I felt the big effects. But I started feeling effects pretty soon. So here's an audio clip from when I was on day 4. So I feel kind of weird, because this is usually the time of night that I go down and I crash really hard. And I was feeling really good, and I was like, "Oh my God, the TMS is working. I'm not feeling down yet." And then I went and I visited my brother over at the house, and he kind of went off on me because he woke up and he was grumpy for no reason. And then I was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna let that get me down." And I went to go talk to my mom, but she was busy on the phone talking to lawyers about my brother's current legal problems, and kind of snapped at me. And so I walked away. And normally those are things that would just, because I'm so fragile this time of night, those are things that would trigger me and make me crash. But I feel like right now, like weird, like I have the choice. Like I can control if I want to fall or if I want to keep afloat. It's really fucking weird. And I don't know how long this is going to last, but I'm going to enjoy it while it is. Pretty amazing, huh? And, yeah, it's just been a complete life changer. On session 9, I actually got dressed and I went to work. I do a self-employed delivery service called DoorDash. If you're not from Bay Area or metropolitan areas in the United States, it's make your own hours type of employment. So I actually got dressed and I got in the car and I drove the half an hour, 45 minutes up to the city to work. Got a little too overwhelmed when I got there and I ended up driving back. But hey, I mean, it's been over 60 days since I was able to work. I'm on disability, so I'm on limited work hours anyways. But it's been almost 60 days since I've even gotten that far. And this is only halfway through. So I'm hoping by the end of treatment I'll be able to pick up a couple shifts again. That'd be great. I asked my mom, because I wanted some external validation or some external comments on what someone else was witnessing in my behavior besides just my own. And she just said that I'm awake and I'm alert and I'm out of a fog. I'm doing videos like this out of joy, not out of commitment or out of obligation. I can get things done. I can do them on my own without codependent support. I am doing massive gardening. I'm enjoying life and doing gardening again. I'm going out. I'm making plans with people and I'm not flaking on them, which is amazing to me, because if you have depression, you know what it's like. Plans sound great at like early in the morning or in the afternoon, and then come evening time, yeah, peace out. I'm done with that. I'm not napping anymore. My sleep, when I get really depressed, I either sleep constantly or I have insomnia. My sleep has been regular 7 hours of sleep every night, peaceful, unbroken sleep. And my curiosity is back for things. I'm learning about things. I mean, look at this presentation I made for you guys. I'm very interactive. A big thing for me, because I come from a history of disordered eating, I'm eating in front of people again, which is really big. I'm actually participating in family dinners and stuff, and I'm able to, I went out to dinner this last weekend, and I was able to actually pick up food at a restaurant, and these are all huge feats for me. They might seem trivial to a lot of you, but they're huge feats for me. And I just look forward to the future. And if nothing else changes, like I said in that message to my friend, if nothing else changes, I would be so content with what I've been blessed with now. I am so grateful. And this is only session 15 out of 30. So, wish me luck. Oh, I have had some rough days that a lot of my friends witnessed, but those were unrelated. In hindsight, they were unrelated repercussions from going off meds that I shouldn't have gone off of. So, but that was irrelevant to the TMS procedure or the TMS cycle and treatment. So, yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys in another 3 weeks. Wish me luck. We'll see what hair color I have by then. Maybe I'll shave my head. Who fucking knows what I'll do. But, yeah, I wish you all love, light, and joy from my heart to yours.